What is up, guys? Z here, and sorry for the long absence, but I was actually super sick last week. But without further ado, I have done my first ever wizard build, and it is the Firebird Archon build. Now, I'm only missing one piece that I want to use for this build, and I have literally ran 100 rifts around about to try to get this one item, and I have still not yet gotten it, but I will post a picture of it. The item in question is Chintado's Will, and it is the staff to the Chintado's Force, which I have. Now, those two combined will give you a 2-set bonus of every second while in Archon form you expel a wave of destruction, dealing 350% weapon damage to enemies within 30 yards. And every time you hit with an attack while not in Archon form, 350% weapon damage is added to the wave of destruction, stacking up to 20 times. So, if you can't already tell, this builds a lot of stack building. So you need to get 20 stacks before you hit Archon, and then your wave of destruction is extremely powerful. Another thing that you're going to be building stacks on with this one is with the Gogok of Swiftness, because every hit up to a stack of 15 will increase my attack speed and dodge percentage. And also with the rank 25 ability, I gain 1% cooldown reduction per stack as well, so that's up to 15%. So let's just start from the top. Firebird's plume on your head with a Royal Flawless Diamond for cooldown reduction. You're going to need a lot of cooldown reduction in this build because you're going to be focusing around your Archon form. Your Archon form will be dealing all of the heavy damage for you. Now, let's just go on an overview of what the set gives you. 2-set bonus: when you die, a meteor falls from the sky and revives you. This effect has a 60-second cooldown. It's a free cheat death, and actually, it happens all the time to me. It almost seems like every time it's about to expire, it gets triggered again. Like, I die so much with this character because wizards are pretty squishy. The 4-set bonus: dealing fire damage with one of your skills causes the enemy to take 1000% weapon damage as fire per second for 3 seconds. This effect can be repeated a second and third time by different skills. If an enemy is burning due to 3 different skills simultaneously, the enemy will become ignited, dealing 3000% weapon damage per second until they die. Ignited status does not expire. So moving right along, your damage is increased by 120% and damage taken reduced by 3% for each enemy that is ignited. This effect can stack up to 20 times, which is quite substantial. You always receive the maximum bonus whenever a nearby elite monster is ignited. That is the sweet part. It's pretty hard to get 20 different enemies staying alive and being ignited in a mob, but it's really easy getting just one elite or a boss like the Rift Guardian. If you ignite them, you have 20 stacks. So Rift Guardians, I can absolutely trash with this build. Elite mobs, trash them. I actually have a harder time with non-elites than I do with the elites. So that's something interesting with this build. But I have the shoulders, legs, torso, head, hands, and feet for the Firebird gear. My amulet is the Traveler's Pledge because I'm using the Endless Walk. And there is the Compass Rose. And the legendary gems I'm using are Bane of the Trapped because I'm in melee range almost all the time with this build. So I'm getting that free bonus damage. Bane of the Stricken because I'm hitting enemies a lot of times. And it gives me bonuses against the Rift Guardians. And as I said, I have Gogok of Swiftness. For my bracers, I also did not get the ones I need. I will show them in the video though. And then for my belt, it is Fazula's Improbable Chain. And this helps you start with up to 50 Archon stacks when entering Archon form. Every Archon stack increases your damage by 6%. So that's pretty substantial. So you can see I have Scourge on, but I'm supposed to have these two on. But it's okay. I ran it a million times. I swear I went for it. Now, as far as Paragon, as always, movement speed, max it out, and then the rest in primary. For offense, I did cooldown reduction first, critical hit damage, and now I'm doing critical hit chance, and then I will do attack speed. The reason I did cooldown reduction is because I said you need a very high cooldown reduction because that Archon form needs to be up as often as possible, and by default it has a 120-second cooldown, so that's pretty big to cut through. In the defense tab, And this is only because I have an absolute complete lack of health regeneration. So I can die just by getting, chipped away. Otherwise, I would totally never do this because I hate life regeneration. But you're going to do armor first, life percent second, resist all third, and life regeneration last. Now, as I said, I only did life regeneration because I literally have none of it on. So that's pretty much all I get besides my Templar helping out. And then when you go to utility, you want to do area damage and life per hit. And then resource cost reduction and life per hit, area damage. You can kind of exchange them based on your needs. If you're always running out of arcane power, then do some resource cost reduction. I could pretty much maintain pretty decently unless I'm doing a ton of arcane torrent to get my cooldown increased on my Archon form. But other than that, it's not that big a deal. And then of course last is going to be gold find. And in here for the weapon we have Orb of Infinite Depth. And every time I hit an enemy with Explosive Blast, my damage is increased by 5%, and my damage reduction is increased by 16% for 6 seconds, and it can stack 4 times. This is great at giving me a little bit of a damage buff, and also making sure I don't die quite as often. The Swami for the armor slot, the bonuses from Archon stacks now last 20 seconds after Archon expires. This is pretty handy because now I get that damage buff. However many stacks I had when I was in Archon form when it expired, I have that for 20 seconds, which is super handy. And you know what's really interesting is if you get a shrine where your cooldowns are almost nothing, I've actually been in Archon form again and started gaining more stacks next to the original stacks that I had, and you just wreck. The Obsidian Ring of the Zodiac is in my ring slot for the Knight's Cube, and this reduces the remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second when you hit with a resource spending attack. Now, this actually helps get this Archon down because 2 skills are going to be used that are costing resource. Explosive Blast is on auto cast, and that is using the numlock trick. So, if you're not really familiar, real fast, you go to Options, Key Bindings, and you scroll down to Action Bar Skill 1. And my Explosive Blast is in Action Bar Slot 1. And then you're going to just assign it to 7 or whatever number you want. You apply Accept. And then when I hit 7, it'll do my Explosive Blast. But then it stops. So if I hold 7, hold numlock, and then release both at the same time, now it will just start auto casting, which is great because I use this all the time. But if I start running around, you'll notice that it stops. So how do you fix that? Well, you use Force Move. So if you see, I'm going to use Force Move here, and it'll keep casting while I'm running. Now to do Force Move, it's the same deal. Key Bindings, and you go down to where it says Force Move. And it'll have key 1 and key 2 not set. I did mouse wheel up and mouse wheel down because I can just roll the mouse wheel back and forth. And then I can just move around, and it looks like I'm doing a million little clicks, because if I were to click the mouse a whole bunch of times, it'll still do the cast, but this is just so much easier and not noisy and obnoxious. So, and also Force Move, there's another good thing about Force Move is you don't target enemies with your skills that are in your left and right click slot. So that's another good port. So I'm going to turn this off right now, and I'm going to go over the skills for you. So we got Arcane Torrent with Flame Ward, turns it into fire damage, and it will also give me some toughness. By the more I cast it, the less damage I take. And is a form of fire damage, so I can ignite people even not in Archon form. Ice Armor with Crystallize in my right click. This combined with my Halo of Aralease, which it makes my Ice Armor now reduce damage from melee attacks by 51% and automatically cast Frost Nova whenever I take 10% of my life in damage, is fantastic for keeping me alive. And this stacks up to 3 times. When I'm struck by a melee attack, my armor is increased by 20% for 30 seconds. So I can get up to 60% more armor. So that's definitely awesome. Explosive Blast, Chain Reaction, you've already seen it. It does 3 hits. It's the best, fastest way to get Explosive Blast rolling. Magic Weapon with Ignite. This will actually count towards the Ignite stacks, and it gives you a little bit more damage. Teleport, Safe Passage. You always should be using something that can get you in and out of safety or mobs, depending if you want to be aggressive or run away. Archon with Combustion is what I'm using. You don't have to, but I'm using Combustion because it will ignite enemies, and that's the best way I found so far. Unstable Anomaly. This is my cheat death. This and the Firebird cheat death both will work independently of each other, so it gives me 2 cheat deaths to keep me rolling in a Greater Rift. Blur for that damage reduction. Audacity, as long as enemies are within 15 yards, I get 30% extra damage, which they're always within 15 yards because, like I said, it's a melee class thing. And Evocation for reducing all my cooldowns by 20%. So that's pretty much the Firebird. I mean, minus having the staff that I wanted to show you guys, I swear I tried so many runs. All 4-man, all day, man. I tried so many times. I could not get it. But that's about it. I hope you like it. It's the first wizard build I've ever done. I don't really play wizards, but honestly, I have a lot of fun with this. It's pretty cool. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next video. Later.